Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Max AC channel. For this month's theme, I thought it would be fun to take our fourth journey around the world to try to make some more new and exciting recipes. So for this month of April, we will be celebrating Adventurous April for a fourth time, where we'll be making 4 more dishes representing different cuisines from around the world. For our first stop, we'll be traveling to the Balkans to make some moussaka. For this recipe, you will need 2 to 3 large eggplants, 3 to 4 small potatoes, some salt, and 3 tablespoons of olive oil. You will also need some meat sauce, which you can make using 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 large onion, 3 to 4 cloves of garlic, 2 pounds of ground lamb or beef, or 4 cups of lentils for a meatless version, 2 to 3 tomatoes, or 1 14-ounce can of diced tomatoes, 3 tablespoons of tomato paste, half cup of red wine, 1 teaspoon of sugar, 2 teaspoons of dried oregano, 1 whole or 1 teaspoon ground cinnamon, 3 to 4 whole or 1 teaspoon ground cloves, 1 to 2 bay leaves, some salt, and some pepper. Then you will also need some bechamel sauce, which you can make with 2 tablespoons of butter or olive oil, 2 tablespoons of flour, 2 cups of milk, some nutmeg, some salt, some white or black pepper, 3 to 4 ounces of Parmesan, and 1 egg for some optional binding. And you will also need a 1/3 cup of breadcrumbs for an optional crunchy topping. This will make about 6 to 8 servings, so just as needed. First, we'll want to prep the eggplant and potatoes. So for your eggplant, cut out the stalk and then slice the eggplant into 1/3 inch slices. Then place these onto paper towels in a single layer and season both sides of the eggplant slices with salt. Let this rest for at least 30 minutes to help sweat out most of the moisture. Then for the potatoes, slice these into 1/3 inch slices as well, and set these aside for later. While we wait for the eggplants, we'll prepare the meat sauce. So for your onion, dice this up into small pieces. And for the garlic, mince this up into rough small pieces. And for the tomatoes, dice these up into pieces as well, and reserve as much of the juice as possible. Then when you're ready, heat a large pot over medium-high heat and add in the olive oil. Once the oil is hot, stir in the chopped onions and saute this until they soften and are slightly golden. Next, add in the meat, breaking it up with a wooden spoon, and saute this until it begins to brown. Then, add in the garlic and tomato paste and saute this until the garlic starts to soften and becomes fragrant. Next, pour in the red wine and scrape the bottom of the pan to deglaze it. Then, mix in the chopped tomatoes, sugar, oregano, cinnamon, cloves, bay leaves, and salt and pepper. Bring this to a boil and then turn the heat down, and cover this slightly with the lid, and let this simmer for about 30 minutes or until the sauce is reduced to your liking. Then, once your eggplants are sweated out, preheat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Then, pat the eggplant dry and wipe off any excess salt. Then, lay your dried eggplants and potato slices on some parchment paper lined trays, and brush or spray them with some oil. Once the oven is ready, bake these for 15 to 20 minutes or until they're lightly browned. Then, remove them from the oven and let them cool while you prepare the bechamel sauce. For the bechamel sauce, in another saucepan, add in the milk and warm it over medium heat until bubbles start to form around the edges, but do not boil it. Then transfer this from the pot into a separate bowl, and then in the same pot, melt the 2 tablespoons of butter over medium heat. Next, stir in the 2 tablespoons of flour and cook, stirring constantly until it turns into a paste, about 2 minutes, but don't let it brown. Then, slowly add your warm milk back in and whisk to incorporate. Bring this to a boil, stirring constantly as the sauce thickens, about 5 minutes or so. Then remove this from the heat and grate in half of the cheese and then add in the nutmeg and salt and pepper to taste. Allow this to cool for a few minutes, then whisk the egg in until everything is mixed together completely. Then cover this with a lid until you're ready to use it. Next, now that all the components are ready, we'll put together and bake the moussaka, so preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Then, brush or spray the bottom and sides of a large pan with some melted butter or oil. Then, layer the potatoes first, if you're using them, and then top this with half the eggplants. Next, pour in all of the meat sauce and spread it out evenly. Remove the cinnamon, cloves, and bay leaves from the sauce at this point if you haven't already. Then add a second layer of eggplants, and then top this with all of the bechamel sauce and smooth it out. Then top this with some breadcrumbs and the rest of the grated cheese if desired. Then bake this for 45 to 60 minutes or until the top is golden brown. Allow this to cool for at least 10 minutes to allow the bechamel sauce to set, Slice this into squares to serve, and with that, your moussaka is ready to eat. For our first adventurous meal, originally I had discovered this recipe when looking for a meatless traditional Easter dish for last month's theme. But I found that moussaka, while it can be made meatless, is usually made with ground meat. So I thought it would be best to save it for this week instead, since it's still around Easter time, but we can eat meat again. So we can enjoy the more traditional version of this dish. Moussaka refers to a variety of eggplant or potato-based dishes topped with a tomato meat sauce and a cream sauce, which is common throughout the Balkans and the Middle East, with the dish varying slightly throughout the regions. This version is an attempt to combine all the different forms of this dish, where we use both potatoes and eggplants, as well as ground beef and lamb in the meat sauce, and adding breadcrumbs on top of the bechamel sauce. But of course, you are welcome to modify your moussaka to fit what ingredients you have available, or for ingredients you enjoy. This dish is usually enjoyed hot, but some places actually enjoy the dish chilled for a day or so to allow the flavors to melt. So if you wish, for any leftovers, cover it once it cools, and just place it in the fridge, and it should be good for about a week or so. Or if you wish to make it last longer, just cut the moussaka into pieces and freeze them individually, and these should last for a few months. Then, if you want to reheat them, just place them back in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 to 40 minutes, or until warmed through. But regardless of if you enjoy this dish hot or cold, this creamy, tomatoey meat and eggplant casserole will be a great way to have a traditional taste of the Mediterranean for Easter week or any time of the year without the expensive plane ticket. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video. In the comments below, let me know how it went if you decided to make it, and let me know if you have any questions or if there's anything you want to make next. Like this video, share with your friends and family, and subscribe to or follow this channel for more episodes of the Max AC channel. And remember, if you want to stay cool in the kitchen, turn your AC to the max and watch the Max AC channel. And then add in the nutmeg. Oops.